So hey friends, welcome to this week's video. This week we're going to go over some Moondrop headphones, and in the past we've looked at the Space Travels, and these were something that came out like in 2004 time frame, and they were super loved. They were super cheap, great stocking stuffer, and had great sound for the price, and pretty, solid ANC and all that sort of stuff at the time. However, they've come out with new generations. There's been the Space Travel 2 and the Space Travel 2 Ultra, which we checked out last week, and this one was an upgrade in terms of your battery and all that sort of stuff. LDAC, just a little bit different setup with the planar in there. However, when testing it, it wasn't necessarily my favorite. I do like the fact that they added better battery, higher capacity or capabilities with the audio front, but the planar to me was just a little bit anemic on the low ends, and the ANC and volume just wasn't there. It just didn't improve enough where I could justify that double price. So these are 24, these ones are like 40. It wasn't worth the price bump for me. However, there were other versions that look exactly like this, like the Ultrasonic. These guys are purported to be a dual driver and have a little bit more low end on it. I'm hoping it also comes with better volume, but we will check it. But this one is super interesting. These are more pricey. We'll talk about pricing later when we go through recommendations, but I'm just really excited to unbox this because it looks a lot cooler than the boxes that the Space Travel and Space Travel 2 came in. So similar form factor, just a little bit more flash and bang, and we always love that. So let's open this guy up. So as we look at the Ultrasonics, I'll also put the Space Travels and the Space Travel 2 Ultras nearby just for reference. But the Ultrasonics have a much different packaging than those two. This one's a lot more fancy. You can see the iridescence here, just really pretty, much larger box than the originals, and that is because there's going to be a little secret in here that everybody's been kind of asking for, especially with these headphones. So as we remove the shell and get another look at that nice little faceplate, once we remove it, you'll see what everybody's been asking for, and that's the case. This is something that will help protect the case, but also help with the retention of the earbuds. So a lot of people have been asking for that. A lot of people complained about that in the first iterations. This will hopefully fix that problem. So let's start unboxing this and see what's included in this box. So obviously you're going to have the charging case, the earbuds, and again, as we mentioned, the protective case that is included this time. Inside the box, you're going to have some ear tips for your customization, as well as a USB-C cord. Just like everything else, you got to charge these, of course. And you'll also have some manuals, but there also is some nice little paperware in here, including a little tarot card with the name character for these Ultrasonics, and also a little business card there with more of her face. But nice little paper stock here, very nice inclusions. So in terms of the case, very similar aesthetics. You're just going to get that red transparent look on top instead of some of the other grays that we're getting on some of the other versions. You will be getting around 18 hours in the case, so some additional charges in there, and it is USB-C charging. These are not going to be wireless charging, they will just have the standards. But if you look at the case itself, again, these all have different battery ratings on them, so although they are very similar looking and you can get different charges and they probably fit in each other's housings, the actual cases themselves have different capabilities, but they all come back to the USB-C standard charging with no wireless charging. So in terms of the earbuds themselves, very similar form factor to what we've been seeing so far. However, these all have different characteristics to them. For this one, it's 5.3. For the Ultras, it's a 6.0 Bluetooth. So this is not the latest standards that you have out there, but it's still better than most. In terms of battery life, we're talking about 6 hours here normal, probably a little bit less if you're using ANC, and then cut that in half if you're using LDAC. Just that additional quality means additional battery, unfortunately. Obviously, you have your ANC, transparency, normal modes for all those things that we'll talk about later for samples. And you're going to have also a gaming mode inside, which will allow you to activate a 55 millisecond latency for those times that you want to game and make sure that you have, all that stuff happening real quick. The biggest thing here is going to be the fact that this is a hybrid driver configuration. So that's a 13mm sapphire diaphragm dynamic driver for the bass and mid-range. And then for your highs, you're going to have the balanced armature tweeter that will help hopefully bring in some more separation and a little bit more impact to your music than you saw with the Ultras. There's gonna be some other things that we talk about in terms of how to modify these once we get into the app section of these review. However, we'll hold off that for now, and let's talk about the thing that a lot of people are gonna be excited for, is the case. That case obviously will fit outside the charging case and is designed to give it a little bit of scratch protection, but also give you a lid so that they don't pop out the earbuds. It is super flexible, and it's not as hard as you think out of the box. So it freaked me out initially when I was using it, because it felt like things were stuck, but in reality it's a little bit flexible. You can peel it back a little bit to help you kind of navigate it in and, you know, get that sort of protection that you want. It is nice because you can see your charging light, you can see all the graphics, and you can even have access to the USB-C without having to remove it. So it's nice if you want to keep that on all the time. It obviously does add some bulk to your pocket ability. However, some people might prefer that just because you do have that spring loaded lid that will allow you to access your earbuds and also protect them from falling out. I think that's a lot of the things that people have issue with this design. People love how futuristic it looks, how unique it is, and how small and pocketable it is, but that lid was just something that people always wanted, and I think this is how they're implementing it for these Ultrasonics. Again, something that's very different than what we've seen so far. As a nice welcome to the packaging. So one thing to talk about the case is that it will stick to the charging case very solidly. It's just very grippy, so it will stick. I found it really hard to get out, and I was freaking out because I thought it stuck forever. But you know, you might want to take that out and have a little bit more slimmer pocket. So I would just use a pen just to push at the USB-C and it pops out. Just something to keep in mind if you're trying to remove this thing later. All right, so the Moondrop Link app. I do want to make a caveat here. Last time I talked about how the iPhone app was not functioning properly and it just did not bring in certain headphones, and there were some complaints on Reddit. However, when we were playing with these particular headphones and some of the other ones that were not the Ultras, they were able to pop up on iPhone. So I think it was just an issue with the Ultras, but these ones performed fine. So you should be able to download the app. You should be able to access all of the settings that I'm about to talk to you guys through, but just wanted to make a change there for you guys if you watched my previous Ultra review. So for the Ultrasonics, again, opening the app is all right. It does take a little bit of time to spin up, but once you're in there, you'll be able to pick your device and see the main settings. So just like the Ultras, you're going to be able to access a bunch of different controls by clicking on the headphones. You'll be able to pick your gestures and do whatever you want from there. By clicking on the ANC settings, you'll be able to toggle around what you want to have active and what you want to sort in terms of your gestures. Going into your function settings, you'll be able to activate your LDAC or LC3 depending on what your phone has available to it. Keep in mind, LDAC will prevent you from accessing certain DSPs, so you will need to deactivate that otherwise. And also keep in mind that LDAC will have some latency. It's more on quality rather than synchronization with video. So those are some instances you might want to flick LDAC off. So then there's also the online interactive DSP. There's less features than there are for the Ultras, but there are a lot more community options here, as you see. So you can take a community option, as we mentioned before. You can scan in one from online, or you can create your own target for your own pleasure. But those are just some customizations there. And then of course they have their stock tune EQ ones, which there's a lot more options than there are in the Ultras. So you do have club, monitor, reference, 89XX, and 336XX, and each of these have really distinct characteristics. So if we wanted to just have a quick summary of all of these, club is going to be your highest bass, and the mids and clarities going to be good, but probably overshadowed by the bass levels. So this is going to be really good for hip hop, EDM, all those sort of things that you want to have a really nice thump to your music. Monitor is going to be the lowest of the bass, so what they're going to do is just really bring everything more mellow and make sure that you're able to hear all parts. There's nothing that will be overpowering. So this is going to be your cleanest, most transparent listen part. So if you're trying to critical listen or really focus on vocals and acoustics, this might be one that you like because it will make sure that those really shine through. In terms of reference, it's going to be pretty balanced throughout. This is the stock tuning for the Ultras and the Space Travels that we talked about in previous weeks. So these are really good all-purpose listening. Any genre will work, and I think a lot of people will tend to go towards this one just across genres. And then we get into the interesting ones that are not in every single headphone. So now we go into 89XX, and that one's going to be more V-shaped. So a lot of headphones out there are going to be pretty V-shaped or extremely V-shaped. So this is where the mids are recessed, but we'll give you a little bit more dynamics. And I think this is going to be really good for like a more fun sound. And I think anything that's well recorded or well, you know, mixed will sound really good on this. Just, I mean, in general, the industry likes a V-shape, and a lot of songs are tuned that way to be a little bit more fun. So I think a lot of people will enjoy 89XX. And finally, the one where I feel like not a lot of people will like is the 336XX tuning, which really brings back the vocals and sucks out all the mids. So it's gonna be very bass heavy, and I feel like you're gonna think that the vocals are muffled. So it's really hard for me to understand when you'd use this. However, when reading, it sounds like this is great for songs that are mixed very well and evenly, as well as high quality music sources. So if you have some of those, maybe you'll find some utility out of this one, and there's some stuff that you won't hear. But I feel like for most people, listening to the sources that they have and the music that they have, I don't know if they're gonna be able to see the power of this tuning, and most of my friends trying this hated it the most. So good luck with it, I guess. That's a lot to talk about. Let me kind of find the right track and play it for you guys for a little bit, and I'll flip between the different modes and see if you guys can see what I'm talking about here.
Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly, just in time, know the right way to go. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe, you're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving is devotion. Ooh, that sugar. All I want is satisfaction. Make a move, baby, you got nothing to lose. Give me that good reaction. Gonna make it right, little like an offer I can't refuse. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe, you're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need.
So I apologize for beating you over the head for the first 10 minutes with all that technical jazz, but it was necessary. And I promise I'll get you guys more samples around the ANC transparency and show you the improvements from the Ultras and the Space Travels. But we must talk about volume. We must talk about seal. We must talk about fit. So let's go into that. These guys, amazing fit. You know, we went to the gym with both of these. I probably won't have time to go to the gym with these, but I'll walk around the city and tell you guys if anything changes. But these fit fine. They're the same freaking shape. They're not going to have that much difference. You're going to be able to run with these. You're going to be able to do agility drills with these. You're going to be able to do like cable crunches. All the things that normally headphones fall out, these will stick in. We're good on that front. Seal is about the same. Like I can still hear things outside. Like the passive seal isn't the greatest, but you know, I think this shape, it just doesn't give that same sort of suction or that same sort of like close off feel. So there is some leakage there. But the thing that is huge with these is the volume. The volume is so much better. The volume is like at 60 to 70%. I can just have pleasurable music. I'm not asking for more volume at 60, 70%. I'm fully happy with what they've given me. They give me enough headway where I can really blast it if I need to. So this is encouraging for the ANC performance. The other thing that I will say is that the signature so far, sorry, Ochako, has been good. I like the fact that it has this warmth, this like grounding, this bass to it. Like it's not anemic. I'm not really worried about it across genres. It's super versatile. I love how this sounds so far, but we'll definitely get more into that. Anyway, I'm going to go I'm gonna take a sleep, and then we're gonna watch Chainsaw Man tomorrow. So I'm gonna be able to take this around the city, walk to the theater, do all that sort of stuff, get some listening in, and give you guys some samples about the ANC. But yeah, if you're interested in how that day goes, Samika will have her own blog about this, and we're gonna test out some Oakley Vanguards and along the way. So check out her channel. I'll put a link up here once that video is up, so you guys can check that out. But I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Morning, y'all. So I gotta do some package deliveries before we go out, but I figure I get in an indoor sample of the microphone. So this is what these sound like. Tell me how they sound. However, I did get some time to listen to some music, and one of the songs I came across was "Ride Like You Own It" by Velvet Desires, and that was a super great song with these because of that extra warmth and bass that these introduce. I did try a few different modes on this, and I thought that club sounded great because of the bass. 89XX was great because of the V shape. It made it really fun to listen to, but I found myself in reference for this one. But you will notice that there's a lot of punch, there's a lot of grime in his voice, and it comes out really well with this song. But we'll keep listening as we go throughout the day. I listened to a country song called Beer Sign by Hazelnut, and I think it sounded the best. Reference again. 89XX was pretty good about bringing out the vocals and guitar, but I feel like bringing up the mids and reference was super nice. And the song was just beautifully put together with these headphones. The bass line came in great again, nice and warm, and I wasn't getting that many ultras, and just everything was well balanced. I was really able to hear his voice over all the different instruments, and it was super well balanced. So overall, great for the song too.
So I just got some really quick thoughts before I get ready for this movie, but I found a folk song that sounds dope on club, and it's Ale and Ashes by Mighty W Project. This is super dope. Like, I was like, oh, what is this weird medieval folk song? But the way that they introduced that, like, bass guitar and then all the strings that come through, and the way that she's like just like hitting really hard on her vocals is just super dope with this song, and really balanced. Like, I was expecting it to be a little bit, not really meet the signature for what club is, but it actually is such a bop. Definitely check out this song. But as a hybrid, surprisingly, Forever by Illenium was another song that I listened to, obviously, in club, with this being an EDM song. Perfect. A lot of good build, a lot of good thump, what you would expect. However, while that's great, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit much. So I found that 89XX is actually better. It balances out the song a little bit more. It does bring down the mids, but I think that makes the vocals and the bass just come out a little bit more, and it sounds cleaner overall. So I think, while club is really good for EDM, some songs where it's a little bit more, instrumental or vocal, and they want to focus more on those vocals, maybe 89XX might be better your speed. And then someone I haven't heard in a while, but Elijah Wood. He has a song called I Miss You, and this sounded really good on 89XX. So it just brought in that ethereal pop sound. It brings out the emotion of the song more than some of the other ones. The other ones are great. They bring out some of the dynamics, but I think it just doesn't isolate his voice and bring in those echoey tones as well as 89XX. So it's something to play around with, but I found myself liking Club, Reference, and 89XX the most so far. Reference is my baseline, where most everything works, but then I sometimes like to play around with the other two just to get a different vibe. But we got more songs. Expect the song recommendations to get a little bit more weeby since we're about to watch an anime film. So yeah, we'll see you in a bit.
All right, some more indoor samples. Sorry for the mess, but yeah, we're gonna go as close to Denji. I'm not dyeing my hair. And I was stupid and went for the fancy seat, so we're not going to AMC, so I don't have a pochita. So I'm just going to use a sling bag. Close enough, but we'll be back shortly, all set up. And she doesn't really wear a coat. I think he has one of this when he's hood. We do this.
No hay nadie en este lugar, vaya suerte. Por fin le puedo decir.
So yeah, we're just waiting for Samika, but we're almost ready.
Hay alguien dentro de mi mente que no para de llamar. Dame esto de aquí, dámelo de allí, me dice a mí. solo quiero felicidad y poder vivir en paz. Con estas manos alcanzar lo que tu corazón.
So we're at the theater, Alamo, and the entire time I was listening to Kickback, intro from the first season of Chainsaw Man. And these headphones are really good because of the drum and bass part. Like the snare hits really hard, so I would say Club is probably your best bet in terms of how these will sound. So definitely go Club for any drum and bass songs, especially for this one. This is obviously an outdoor sample, so this is also giving you guys the microphones. There's a bit of wind, so tell me if that comes through. I'll check it in the post and give you guys final thoughts later, but we'll listen to a couple more songs, but we gotta watch it. Okay, so we're kind of a little bit, but anyway, last track is Iris Out, obviously from Chainsaw Man movie.
YouTube right now.
I'm literally trying to shoot this, so sorry.
So whatever I was about to say there was absolutely incoherent and really did not talk about the song all that much, so let's do this again now that I'm sober. So Iris Out is obviously the intro song to the Reze arc, and it has this nice carnival vibe to it, just a lot of nice keys, a lot of piano runs, and it's dope. And there's obviously this nice bump to it, and I think of all the different remixes or the different mixes that I tried from it, it was the Club that won out just because it brought that low end to it, and surprisingly it didn't really overpower anything. So we tried some of the other ones. 89XX, while I thought would have been okay, just missed out some of the mids and didn't make some of the keys sound as good. And Reference was pretty solid overall, but just did not bring that same thump and that grounding that the Club did. So obviously for this track, Club was the best. So overall, in terms of sound, I think it's great. It has a lot more capabilities than the Space Travel and the Space Travel 2 Ultras, and has just that nice separation in comparison. So I think also those drivers do push out more volume. So I think a lot of people that were disappointed with previous iterations of volume, they'll be able to do a lot more with this driver setup, as well as with the application being able to put it into high gain will help you out in terms of, you know, isolating things out. So while the ANC I think is serviceable, just like it was in previous generations or the other two generations that we've seen, it is just further enhanced by the fact that the music gets louder, so you really can't hear anything. So sitting outside in the road and kind of listening around, like I really couldn't hear much outside of horns. So if someone honked, obviously I could hear it, but I was pretty isolated. I couldn't hear other people's voices, any sort of that. But if the music was off, obviously I'd be able to hear the whooshes of the cars. Again, it's not the perfect seal, it's not the tightest seal, but with your music on, really can't hear much outside of things that you should probably be able to hear anyway, like high-pitched voices or horns. In terms of things I did not like about these headphones, it really comes down to like microphones. Like as you heard through those segments where I was using the microphones, it's pretty bad. Like it's really digitized. It doesn't pick up voice really well. It doesn't isolate outside noises. Like my friends talking in the background, you can hear them pretty clearly, and it kind of muffled out the voices, which kind of falls into play with what my clients were hearing when I was using these on calls. Like if I was inside my house, it was all right. But if I was like in a cafe or running errands while I was doing calls, they were struggling for sure. And you just hear that in some of these samples. Is for some reason, the space travel ones did a lot better job of this than these ultrasounds. So I'm not exactly sure what would change with the mic setup or anything like that, but the Gen 1s were better at microphones than this. So I was really surprised when I listened back to all the clips of how digitized and distorted it was. So I think that's one of the big weak points of this. Otherwise, you do have a pretty decent battery, not as good as the Space Travel 2 Ultras, but still better than the originals. So I think you're going to get a lot of usage out of it, especially if you're not finding yourself in LDAC. So a lot of you people on iPhone won't have to worry about that much because LDAC's not supported anyway. So you're going to get, 6 hours out of it. I was finding that it lasted anywhere from 5 to 6 hours per charge. And then if you have the case with you, it'll last you all day with no issues. But really, I'm pretty impressed with the ultrasonics so far. These are my favorite ones. And, with the added case, it solves a lot of the problems that people had with the first generation. And that dual driver setup is just dope. So these are something that I'd actually suggest you pick up. If you like this form factor, you like how it fits in ear, and you like the original Space Travels, these might be a nice upgrade. Despite them only being Bluetooth 5.3, still solid. The only thing I'd say that's missing again is microphones. So if you're not using this for conferencing, you're fine, and it doesn't have multi-connect. So again, if you're not using it for work purposes and it's really just mostly for music, then this is great. So I'll put a link in the description below. But we still got some other things to look over. So we also have the Golden Ages 2, which will be my next review, which I'm taking on a business trip and testing that out for a week or two, just to see how that compares to the ultrasonics, as well as some of the other stuff that we have around here. So I appreciate you guys sticking around this more vlog style review, but let me know what you think. If you could, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you normally do on a video that you like and love, and I'll see you very shortly. We still have a little bit of more Moondrop to go through. So as always, appreciate you. Peace.